Most of you guys know that the Graham Parker family, before we lived in America, we lived in the UK. And while I was in the UK, I decided that it was time for me to get healthy. And so, I don't know if you're aware of this plan, but there's something called a Couch to 5K. And it does exactly what it says. It's supposed to get you off of the couch as a couch potato and get you healthy and running, and by the end of it, you're supposed to be able to run 5 kilometers. Well, I didn't make it. And in the process, I was seeing my chiropractor because I was having a few issues. And this man, he didn't play. He literally looked me dead in the eyes, steely eye grip. He looked at me and he said, "Wendy, your body is not meant to run." I thought to myself, you know what? That is so rude. Like, of course I'm meant to run. But listen, I'm not here trying to prove science wrong. So I was like, not meant to run, giving it up. So you can imagine my surprise, understanding that I'm not meant to run, and suddenly I arrive somehow in 2025, and I've signed up for a half marathon. Don't clap yet, because I haven't done it and I haven't completed the race. It was an inspiration. I don't even think it was ambition. I think it was just straightforward delulu, right? What happens was, a couple of days before I signed up, my daughter, so you can blame Hannah, she looked at me one day like I actually had some potential. She looked at me and she said, "Mom, you can do a half marathon. You've got this. You should sign up and do a half marathon." And there was something inside of me at that point that leapt up. And I think it was the same thing inside of me that said, "Wendy, you're a meal prepper. You can prep meals on a Sunday." She's laughing because she knows. On a Sunday for the next week. I can't do that, guys. It's not in me. The same part of me that thought that I could keep indoor plants alive, that's the part of me that rose up and said, yes, I can run a half marathon. I can run 13.1 miles. Hello? No, I don't think I can. And so in that moment, I imagined the race, right? I imagined the glitz of crossing that finish line. You know, like when the sweat, it just hits you at the right point on your face and you take an Instagram photo and then you publish that and it just hits you, the glistening at the right place. I imagined this like inner peace that came inside of me, getting up early in the morning and getting ready to go to the gym and practicing and running on a treadmill, green smoothies and inner peace and all the stuff that comes with running a half marathon. You know what the reality is? The ChatGPT program that I downloaded to help me get from the couch to 13.1 miles is still unopened in my inbox. The reality is that I've done a few runs on a treadmill, and guess what? When I did those runs, my muscles went in full-on revolt, and they said, "No, you are not meant to run." Runner's high? It's not a thing. They lie. It's dizziness. That's what runner's high is. I stood on the treadmill some mornings, and I actually thought to myself, this has got to count for something, right? It doesn't. Listen, the hardest part is not necessarily the run. The run is hard, but you know what's harder? The discipline that is gonna get me to the finish line. That's the hard part. The discipline to get up in the morning when it's cold and snowing and disgusting outside, to put on my gear, to get in my car, to get to the gym, to actually train, to follow the ChatGPT download that I've made. Those are the hard parts, because without them, I can sign up for a half marathon, but it doesn't mean that I'm gonna complete it, does it? I can have the shoes, and I've got the tech. I have an Apple Watch. It's miserable. It measures my heart rate. You know what the worst thing about an Apple Watch is? When you go onto the activity and you push, like I'm running right now, you know what, it's horrible. You know what it does to you? It goes, you think you're running really great, and you know what it does? It goes, split pace, and then suddenly what I was running is now like half the time that I'm running in. It's not cool. Having all the gear and getting ready doesn't make me a runner. Just like when I sign up for a race, it doesn't mean that I can finish it. But there is some good that has come out of standing on a treadmill and hoping that I'm actually going to push start. And that is that on a treadmill, you can have a revelation. Do you want to know what my revelation was? Okay. Do you want to know what my revelation was? Good. That's what I was hoping you'd say. My revelation was, I have a discipline problem. See, I love the idea of a breakthrough. I love the idea of growth. But the grind that's going to get me there, the daily stuff, that for me is where it falls apart. And spiritually, I can say the same thing. I want my faith to be strong. I really, really do. I want to walk in purpose. I want to become who God has called me to be. But the daily disciplines, spending time in the Word, quiet times with God, the moments that nobody sees, that's where I lose focus, where my discipline or lack of discipline comes into play. And if I don't have that, I'm going to crash out. And maybe you felt that too. Maybe for you, there's this tension between who you are and who you want to be in Christ. Like you love Jesus, but the discipline that it takes to grow, it feels out of reach. It's not about performance, friends. It's about the person that we are pursuing. And when Jesus is the prize, then our discipline and the pressure of that discipline, it changes our focus to devotion. And now we stop having a checklist, but our discipline is something that moves us towards formation. It's now no longer striving for perfection, but now we're moving in a direction, and it totally transforms us. But it all starts with Jesus. He's the one who calls us, and He's the one who strengthens us, and He is the one that runs with us. So, my body might not be built to run. We'll see. But I was built to finish. And you know what the amazing thing is? You were built to finish too. You've been called, you've been marked by grace, and in Jesus, you were built to finish. But you can't finish by accident. You have to finish on purpose. And so if you're sitting this morning and you're wondering, how do I do that? How do I keep going? How do I run with purpose? How do I finish this race that I've been given to run well? The good thing is that the Bible is like a handbook, and it gives us guidelines. And so this morning, I want to take you to 1 Corinthians 9, verses 24 to 27. There's going to be a slide that comes up so you can follow with me on the screen, and I'm going to read it to you. Do you know that in a race, all the runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things that they do. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable one. So Paul says, I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and I keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. And so I want to just give you a little bit of context behind this, because I think context is always good so that we can understand. Paul is writing at this point in time to the church in Corinth. And Corinth is a bold and cosmopolitan city. It's wealthy, it's indulgent, it's packed with opportunity. But you know what it's also packed with? Compromise. It's got a lot of idolatry. Idolatry is normal, and actually sexual immorality is something that is celebrated. So that's the picture of Corinth during this time. And Paul, he can see that the Christians that are living in this time, they are tired and they are distracted and they are pressurized to perform and adapt and soften their convictions to be able to fit in to the land in which they are living. And he sees the challenge. And so what he does is he doesn't rebuke them. He paints this picture to them of life being a race. And he understands the mindset of an athlete. And he also understands that the Christians will understand this metaphor. Because in their backyard, they had something called the Isthmian Games. Kind of like the Olympic Games. They happened every 2 years. And they understood that these athletes that were training for the Isthmian Games would put a lot of time and effort, and they would put a lot of things aside. They would have strict diets. They wouldn't drink alcohol. They would have no distractions. They would go for discomfort in their lives so that they would be able to give up things to train. And guess what they were training for? The prestige of a crown, not a crown of gold, a crown of celery. That's what they would win. So Paul, what he's saying is, he's saying, listen, if the Corinthians are going to go that hard, if they're going to spend 2 years of their lives training for a crown of celery, how much harder should we be training when we're running for something eternal? He's not being poetic. He's being prophetic. He's saying, if you don't have discipline in your life, you are going to drift. And if you don't discipline yourself, you are going to disqualify yourself from this race. It's a war for your soul. And what it really takes is not actually passion or potential. Those things are good. But what it really takes is discipline. Yeah. Discipline is the bridge. Discipline is the bridge between the motivation of starting. We all have motivation and emotion to start something. But if you want the joy of completion, you have to build the bridge in between. And that bridge is a bridge of discipline. The bridge says, who I am and what I want to become, I need that discipline in my life. Because discipline is not actually an accessory to our faith. Discipline is the structure that is going to carry us through life. And so he's painting this picture to the Corinthians as a life, as a race and a fight. In 1 Corinthians 9:27, he uses the word discipline. He says, I discipline my body and I keep it under control, lest after preaching I might be disqualified. It's important for us to understand what the context of that word discipline is. It's a Greek word. I'm going to try and pronounce it. It's hypopiazo. And it means to strike under the eye like a boxer. It's not poetic language. It's painful language. He's saying, listen, I train like a fighter and I beat my body, not to punish my body, but to master my body. Because Paul understood that he could stand on a stage and he could preach to people. But if he didn't have discipline in his life, he could fall too. And friends, this life that we're living, if you're a Christian, we're not in a jog. This is a race. You are never going to just drift into holiness. You're never going to just stumble into some form of spiritual maturity. And you certainly are not going to coast into your calling. Finishing this race that we're in, it takes discipline. Discipline isn't loud, it's not flashy, And it's not the Instagrammable moments that we try and make it out to be. It's something that's built in the quiet. It's formed in the private parts of your life. And it's proven mostly when people are not watching and clapping and applauding for you. Starting is easy. An emotion in the moment is easy. Starting is an easy place to start. But finishing, the joy of finishing, between the start and that joy of finishing, there's a bridge. And that bridge is discipline. Listen, I have the gear to be able to run the race. The shoes, the legging, the heart rate monitor, I have it all. And the emotion got me started on this journey. But discipline is the bridge that's going to take me to completion. And the same thing goes for our spiritual walk. You can have the Bible, you can have a Bible app, you can have motivational scriptures, you can have the playlist that you play on repeat in your car every day and sing all the Christian songs. You can have podcasts that you listen to that inspire you through your week. But if you are not disciplined in private, you're not becoming a disciple. You're dressing as one. And so I want you to picture this. An athlete steps onto the track and they look the part, right? Their gear game is sharp and their body is strong. And the crowds on the sideline, they're cheering them on. What you don't know is that in the secret, in the quiet place, that athlete hasn't actually been following the coach's instructions and training in the quiet. No discipline and no grind when no one was watching. He wasn't preparing himself for that race. And then the gun goes off and the athlete propels forward, right? They surge out. And that first surge, that's pure talent that's carrying them through that first lap. By lap 2, they're starting to feel a little winded. I feel that at around about 0.2 miles, just to bring perspective, all right? By lap 3, now they're wounded. By lap 4, guess what? They're out of the game. They're stopped. They're pulled off the track. But here's the thing. The race goes on without them. See, talent got them noticed in the beginning, but their lack of discipline took them out of the race. It's in the quiet place, in the unseen hours, behind tears and devotion, that winners are made. Yeah. And without discipline, even the most gifted, the most called, and the most anointed person can fall short. It matters. Discipline matters. Because if you don't finish your race, it's going to cost you the race. But you know what? Maybe it's going to cost your team the race too. Discipline matters. And I want to just stay here for a second because I think there's two groups of people. I think some of us, if we're honest, we present well, right? What people see about us, they think we've got it all together and we must be so disciplined. We're killing it in our family life. Like what we're presenting as a family, people think they've got it all together. Maybe for you, you're killing it at work and you're just getting promotion after promotion after promotion. Maybe your business is doing so well and visibly all this stuff looks like we're doing so well. But what's happening in our spiritual life is that we're actually coasting. And there's a caution here. Because you can coast for a little bit on the momentum of what you've built. But momentum on its own, it runs out. And at some point, you're going to find yourself in a very, very difficult situation. Friends, momentum slows down. If that's you today, I want to encourage you. Please don't let this word go unheard. Take it and implement and put in your life spiritual disciplines. There's another group of people that I'd like to chat to this morning. And maybe for you, you don't even have the privilege of feeling like you're coasting and surviving. Because you're not. You're actually just breathing and existing. Because you've walked through pain, you've walked through trauma, and maybe you've walked through a lot of disappointment. And slowly and quietly, that has worn away from you. And discipline has fallen by the wayside. And so you've stopped showing up, not just physically, but you've stopped showing up spiritually. Not because you don't love God. I believe that everybody in this congregation loves God. But because you're actually spiritually exhausted and you don't have the disciplines in place to take you any further. And now you're stuck. You're spiritually winded. And what happens in that moment is that the enemy, he whispers into our ears. When you're in that place and you're vulnerable, he'll say things to you like, you failed too much. You've lost your edge. It's too late for you. And because your spiritual discipline isn't in place, you start to believe the words of the enemy over the words of what Christ tells us in the Bible. I want you to understand that you can be anointed and you can be called, but without discipline, those things can collapse. Discipline is the guardrail that keeps your calling from crashing out. Hebrews 12, verses 1 and 2 says this. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Looking to who? Looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Friends, discipline and sacrifice equals endurance. And this race that you're in, it's not random. It's marked out for you. When you were born, God marked you. He had a race for you. And not every obstacle that we encounter in life is from God. No, it's not. But you know what God does? Every obstacle that you have, he never, ever wastes them when you walk with him. And the only way to endure is not by focusing on how I feel. It is by focusing on who I'm following. Jesus. So, Jesus didn't just start the race. He pioneered the race, and then he perfected the race. He ran ahead of it, and he finished his race so that we could live in eternity with him. And do you know what? He doesn't leave us there. He runs with us. So discipline matters, but discipline only matters when it's fueled by devotion. And that devotion only comes when we lock eyes with Jesus. He is the author and the finisher of our faith. Number 2, discipline costs. Everybody wants a shortcut. Have you noticed that in life nowadays? Everyone's looking for a shortcut. No one wants to pay the price that it costs to get you there. All the ladies want to glow up, but we don't want to go on a diet, right? I want the glow up. I don't want the cost of doing it. We want fruit without fight. I love the idea of transformation. I love it until it asks for my time and my comfort and my pride. Because I need to understand that discipline is going to cost me. The writer of Hebrews says this in Hebrews 12:11. He says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time. It's painful, but later on, however, It is going to produce a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. So discipline, there is a cost to it. Pain now, peace later. Sacrifice now, strength later. And that's the hard part, right? Being present at home or being present in a meeting when you'd actually rather be scrolling through Instagram and Facebook. It's hard. Sometimes I don't want to speak to people. I just want to scroll. I don't want to engage you. It's hard for me. It's hard to pray when I'd rather be venting. It's hard to serve when I'm tired. I deserve a break. You guys are hard work. Discipline is a cost that is often unseen. You're not always going to feel it. You won't always be acknowledged for it. Sometimes you won't even feel like you're seeing the result in your life. But in the process of discipline, as we spiritually discipline ourselves to forgive, to serve when no one's looking, to worship in the silence when we feel like God is saying nothing to us, to choose our obedience over comfort. It's in those moments, the cost of discipline. It's in those moments that you're now starting to become someone who's holy. And I want you to think of this picture of a sculptor. Hammer in one hand and a chisel in the other. And as he starts to chisel, that process is loud. I'd say it's almost violent. And it's painful for the chiseler and for the stone. Even though stones don't have feelings, just go with me on that one. But with every strike to that marble, something is being revealed. The same thing is with discipline. Discipline may feel like it's breaking us, but it's not breaking us. It's shaping us. And I love this quote by Michelangelo. He says, "I saw the angel in the marble, and I carved it until I set him free." That is beautiful. That angel came at a cost. The marble didn't shape itself. Every cut and every strike on that marble was intentional. It was sacrificial. It took work. It took discipline. And God sees who you are becoming. He doesn't just see who you've been. He sees who you're becoming, and he's cheering you on. And so he carves us, and he refines us. And friends, it's not punishment. It's meant to free us. The cost of discipline is never destruction. It's revelation. You're not being broken down when you're having discipline and putting things in your life to discipline you. You're being built up, and you're being prepared and defined. But here is where it gets deeper, and just hang in there with me for a second. In 1 Corinthians 9:27, Paul uses the word discipline. And that word discipline means hypopiazo, and it's a boxing term. It means to strike under the eye. And that's fighting language, right? It's raw and it's intentional. And what Paul is saying there is that I don't just hope I will become someone and stay on course. He's saying, I have to fight for it. But then there's this beautiful dichotomy, because in Hebrews 12:11, the writer uses the word discipline as well. But in that structure of that passage, the word discipline is completely different in the Greek. It's paideia. And that paideia is not the blow of a boxer. That paideia is the guidance of a loving Father. It's beautiful. One is about submission, and the other discipline is talking about formation. One happens in the ring, and one happens in the quiet. Both of them will cost you, but both of them, they're going to shape you. And here's what I love about the grace of God, is that He's not just training you like a fighter. He's forming you like a father, like a loving Father. Discipline costs, yes. But every cost that is paid in obedience, do you know what it's building? It's building strength. And it's building resilience. Every cost paid in obedience builds spiritual strength. Every sacrifice that you make, that no one knows about, that no one's clapping for, you know what it does? It expands your capacity. It's not flashy. It's not fun. Maybe it doesn't feel inspirational, but you know what it is? It's transformational. And God, the grace of God, is that He will never, ever waste the cost of your discipline. He uses it. He uses it to make you someone who doesn't just carry the call, but someone who carries the call well. I don't know about you, but one day when I finish my race, I want to hear Jesus say, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You carried that well." So yes, discipline costs us. But the cost is worth the price. The shaping, the building of capacity, the strengthening, the revealing what God has placed inside of you is worth the cost. He is forming you along the way. That heat that you're feeling right now, the pressure that is going on that nobody knows about, the grind that you're feeling, I would even go so far as to say the tears that you have cried that nobody else sees. God sees them. And it's not for nothing. It's producing in you a harvest of righteousness, Discipline costs. But what it produces is worth every single sacrifice. Lastly, the prize is worth the pain. When I signed up for the half marathon, I had a vision. Early morning, green smoothies. Wendy's going to look cool. I'm going to have that right amount of sweat glistening as I cross the finish line. Dennis waiting for me at the finish line with a big bouquet of flowers. He better do that if I finish. That's what I saw. Motivational playlists, crowds cheering for me as I run that last mile, if I get there. I pictured breakthrough moments. I've pictured crying at the finish line, just going to be real. I've pictured it well, though, so that I'm not ugly crying, just like a gentle cry. I've pictured the victory of doing a half marathon. Here's the reality of it. It's an unopened ChatGPT training list. It's unmet goals. It's sore knees, sore ankles, and sore hips. It's moments where just standing on the treadmill felt like a miracle. I kept hearing those words that my chiropractor in the UK said to me, "Wendy, your body is not built to run." And I'm glad I went through this before I preached it, because man, that phrase, it didn't just hit me physically. it did something inside of me spiritually. It did something inside of my soul. Because there have been seasons in my life where I felt not just unfit to run physically, but unfit to be the person who God has called me to be. You know, maybe that's you today. Because for me, I didn't feel like I was built for the calling that is on my life. I didn't feel fit to carry that calling. I didn't look the part. I didn't sound the part. I didn't have a theological degree behind my name. And all those things were speaking into my mind, and they were saying, you are unfit. You're never going to finish this race. And friends, do you know why those words became so powerful in my life? Because I lacked the discipline to be in the Word, to have those truths written onto the tablet of my heart. I felt inconsistent and not good enough ever. Too broken, too tired. What will people say if they see the real me? And maybe for some of you, that's the truth for you today. You're feeling that as well. But Hebrews 12, 3-4 says this, and it speaks so powerfully. It says, consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. What is Scripture telling us there? It's saying, look to Jesus. When your pain is real, look to Jesus. When you want to quit, look to Jesus. When it feels like you're falling behind, look to Jesus. Fix your focus. He's gone before you. And then in verse 4 it says this. In your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding blood. Jesus did. That scripture is not to shame us. It's to bring perspective. You see, Jesus, when he went to the cross, when he had to run that race, he didn't tap out halfway through and go, it's too hard. He endured the pain of the cross. He carried the cross so that he could finish his race as the Father instructed him to do. And now, we get to finish our race. Not in our power, but because he runs with us. And by his Spirit, he's saying to you today, no matter where you are, you can finish too, because he's running with you. And I want to show you something that hit me kind of hard. And I hope I can keep it together for this part. In 1 Corinthians 9:27, Paul uses that word, disqualified. He says, I discipline my body and I keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. That Greek word is adokimos. It's a very serious word. Do you know what it means? It means proven, unreliable. It means unfit for purpose. It means rejected after testing. Friends, I never, ever want to hear those words spoken over my life. I don't want to get to the end of my race and I hear the words unfit for purpose. I don't want to hear those words. See, Paul wasn't scared of losing applause in front of people. He was scared of losing alignment, that a lack of discipline would cause him to stumble and take him off the course, and standing before a holy God, realizing that he had stopped living like the call that was on his life mattered. Today, you need to understand the call that is on your life matters. It matters not just for you. It matters for your family. It matters for your friends. Some of you this morning are feeling disqualified. And the worst thing is that you're not feeling disqualified by people. You're feeling disqualified by heaven. And that's not true. And so you've stopped showing up, not just physically, but it's halted your spiritual walk. You've stopped believing in Jesus and what his words say, and you've stopped believing that you're still in a race. And now the enemy has got a foothold, and he's whispering things to you. He's saying things to you like, you've gone too far this time. You've messed up too many times. You're inconsistent. But that, my friends, is not the voice of Jesus. Do you know what that is? That's shame, trying to finish a race that you never started. Disqualification is real. But you know what's more powerful than disqualification? Redemption. And grace is stronger than regret. So make no mistake, God never lowers the bar on holiness, but he also never stops calling you towards it. So you know what? Maybe I'm not built to run. Maybe I don't have the right pace. Maybe I'm not polished enough. Maybe I won't finish the half marathon in under 3 hours. But you know what I am? I'm built to finish. And so are you. So here's the thing. I don't want us to leave this morning on a low note, because I want to encourage you. Today, if you're limping, keep limping. If you are crawling, get up and carry on crawling. Get in the race. Because you can be playing hurt, but you're still in the race. If you are breathing today, you are still in the race. You can still put the spiritual disciplines and the guardrails back up in place so that you don't crash out. Don't let your feelings and your current situation take you out of the race. So, what now? Well, you were built to finish. So, keep running. Keep showing up. Put the guardrails up. Get discipline back in your life. And fix your eyes on Jesus. He is the prize. He is what matters. He's the one that's going to set the pace in your life. Come on. Not because you're the fastest, not because you're the strongest, not because you're doing it for the applause of man, not because you want to be perfect, but because Jesus is the prize and he is worth the pain. Won't you stand with me this morning?